Okay, this is the second video in our STEM design process series. The second step of our design process is to investigate. For this step, I love this quote by Albert Einstein: "If I had an hour to solve a problem, I'd spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes thinking about solutions." We really train students at STEM to be problem solvers, and that's great. You jump to solutions, though, immediately. And that can be less productive if you don't really fully understand the problem. We need to really spend so much more time fully understanding the problem and all aspects of the problem to solve it better. Otherwise, you're jumping to solution after solution after solution, and you might be missing some key piece of information that would help you solve it better. So some stuff to think about as you're doing this investigate step. First, the things that you needed to learn from that identify step, that should become your research topic and questions. And just because you've moved into this step and you have your list of things you need to learn, doesn't mean you need to never add to it or change it. New things may pop up that need to go on that list, and that's fine. This should be fluid and should respond to what you're figuring out that you need. But that should be where you start. So the list of things you needed to learn should be the stuff that you start to research. You really want to focus, since this is human-centered design again, on observing and interviewing the user. Talk to them about why is this a problem for them? What aspects of it are a problem for them? Things like that. Don't ask how they would solve it. There's another great quote by Henry Ford about, if I asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. People don't know the solution to their problem. If they did, they would have solved it. So try to avoid asking them for the solution. They would have done it if they had a solution. But ask them why this doesn't work for them. Then you want to use trustworthy secondary sources to dive deeper and do additional research. And you want to end it by synthesizing your research and identifying the root causes behind the problem. So we want to talk root causes for a minute. What are root causes? I like this kind of graphic to explain it. The symptoms are the things that you see, right? The issues people have. And underneath is the main problem that you're looking at for your capstone. But that problem can be caused by a whole bunch of different things. When we get to the next step, we'll talk about how you pull out one of those things to try to solve. But those are the root causes. And typically there's multiple things behind a problem that make it a problem. Let's go back to this phototherapy thing for a minute and talk about how I would do this in the investigate step. So the first thing that I would do if I was researching to try to solve this would be primary sources. And that's what we'll do in STEM Capstone, primary sources. Go to the user. So I would interview nurses who work with this. I would interview moms who go through this to try to figure out, well, what exactly is the problem? I can tell you from my experience, one of the things is I think she was cold, poor thing, because I like the room cold, and she's naked, and she just like came out from 98.6 degrees, and now she's in this cold room that's probably, I don't know, maybe 75. It's probably cold in there. The blue light did not put out a lot of heat. So I would say that could be one of the issues behind why she's uncomfortable. But I would start there. Start by interviewing the people who have the problem. Because on a technical level, this phototherapy works. It functions. But it doesn't function as good as it could for the user. So you have to start by figuring out that part. Then you would have to do that secondary research into, okay, scientifically, how does this function? What are the non-negotiables? What are the things that make it work that can't be changed? Again, rubric-wise, for when you get to the end of this step as you're publishing your research, your target is that you can investigate your problem through research using appropriate and varied resources. So we don't want a list of things you've Googled. That's not at the level where we need to be for STEM Capstone. So for a 4 out of 5, your research thoroughly and accurately explores your problem while using and citing appropriate sources. Your research also comes from a variety of sources, like not all web-based, and focuses on learner-initiated research. So there should be interviews in your research, even just to get a 4 out of 5. At a 5 out of 5, your research thoroughly and accurately explores the problem while using and citing the best sources. Your research also comes from a variety of places. So what would make it the best versus just a 4? Well, one way you can get primary source data is through like a survey, and that would not be considered the best because you don't really know who the people are who are answering your questions, for one. For two, you can't really count on them to be 100% honest. For 3, you can't ask follow-up questions in a survey. It's kind of a one-hit thing. So while surveys may be acceptable in some cases, really you want to stick to those interviews. And really you want to get the best people to answer your questions. So you would want to get someone who has experienced this. You wouldn't want to get someone maybe who is a mom who has had kids but they've not gone through this. They wouldn't have that firsthand experience. They could conjecture some ways that this could be, I don't know, uncomfortable, but they wouldn't have that best firsthand experience. And that is the second step of the design process.